I am Marwan Cameron, and this is The Conduit. Oh, man, 2 in 1 day. Two within a span of 2 hours. Man, it's Monday. It's my favorite day. I'm so crazy. I'm just saying, I'm in a good mood. I like getting stuff done, and that's what we're doing. So we got another show for you today. Our guests are getting set up. Remember how I was talking about technology and it being a challenge? Digital literacy is critical, and it affects so many different people and groups. And so that is the issue right now. So we're going to let them go ahead and get set up. And then we're going to go ahead and get into our second show today. But it is Monday, October 4th. Beautiful day. You know, I love my Mondays. Got my, the tie I'm wearing today was bought by my college students. And what was so interesting is usually sometimes they'll give you gifts at the end of the quarter, but you have cohort of students, right? And so they actually gave me this tie at the very beginning of the quarter. It's like, all right, y'all, this ain't gonna help your grade, you know? So, you know, it's like they didn't bring me apples. I had a really bad purple bag Skittle addiction. So, you know, folks would drop off, you know, bags of Skittles for me. And it got so bad. I mean, I think at one time I had like maybe 4 or 5 of the family packs of bags of Skittles. I mean, I had so many Skittles, it was ridiculous. And so, you know, I taught so many different courses over so many disciplines that folks were just, you know, I just here's some Skittles, Mr. C. Here's some Skittles, Mr. C. Here's some Skittles, Mr. C. So I've got all these Skittles. It was crazy. I had a really bad. You know what? I don't even really like purple Skittles anymore. I don't eat them. I can't even tell you the last time that I bought a bag of purple Skittles. In all honesty, Rob says looking good, sounding good. Rob, do you remember when's the last time I've had a bag of purple Skittles? As you know, I like all things purple, and that is the berry flavor. So it's always great when the, you know, something in purple tastes good. I'm a sucker for new things first off. So if it says new on the package or new and improved, yeah, I'm probably gonna go for it. I'll get suckered into it once. But you know, I already like Skittles, and then it's in a purple bag and it's the berries. Man, yeah, they had me hooked. So I had a big problem with the purple Skittles for a long time. But yeah, I cannot tell you the last time um, I had a purple bag of Skittles. Matter of fact, shout out to Cynthia um, Rodriguez. I think she brought me a bag of purple Skittles down to G2. So I think she wanted me to. I think she was telling me she brought her son in because she'd bring her son into class sometimes, and I would talk to him about, you know, how important math was, and um, you know, being a strong young man for his mom. And yeah, so they came into G2 and brought me some Skittles. So yeah, I think that might be the last time. Rob says 6 months ago, red vines and purple Skittles. Oh, it's red vines now. Yeah. Well, I've always had a thing for the red vines and Swedish fish. So, you know, there's I definitely have a sweet tooth, but I've got a certain sweet tooth, you know, on the sweets that I like. But yeah, so like I said, I'm in a good mood. It's been a very productive day. So many different meetings that started. You know, you talk about just this might be TMI, but my day was so busy. My first meeting, you know, I'm glad my iPhone is waterproof because I had to take a shower, and you know, I'm on speakerphone in my first meeting, right? Just trying to get through all the things that I got to get through. Uh, I am more busy now uh, than I was last year when I was consulting for the Navy and running G2. So it I don't even know how that's possible. It's like, oh, hey, something comes off your plate. I'm like, oh, I can feel that. There's some room on that plate right there. Oh yeah, here we go. So I just, start piling more stuff on there. Um, but at the same time, for me, this is what gives me joy. This is what fuels me. This is what wakes me up in the morning. This is what keeps me up at night. At the same time. So, I tell folks, I don't really set an alarm. I do just as a backup, just in case I don't ever want to oversleep. But typically, I always wake up before the alarm goes off because I'm ready to go. I'm ready to um, make change, to do the work, to be there for folks, to show folks that there are people that care. Sometimes folks are existing and feeling 27 hours in a day. Sometimes it actually does feel that way. It's like, how long have you been awake? Oh, I've been up 30 hours. I'm about to go and lay down for like 3 hours and take a little nap. uh but yeah, I lost my thought. But you know it's um it's important to help people, and I kind of left that the last podcast off uh with that sentiment, right? Getting involved, volunteering, doing internships, finding your space. It really is empowering. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about other people. You know, one really powerful thing is perspective, right? We go through things, and it doesn't diminish what we go through if somebody else is going through something else, or it's worse, right? If you're hungry, then you're just as hungry as this person that's hungry, right? And so sometimes it's like, well, I can't feel this way because this person has it so much worse than I do, and maybe they do, just on scale, but that doesn't diminish what your trials and tribulations are. But it's good perspective. It helps to um I talk about having the affirmation bowl or jar, right? And put those things in there, because there are times, doesn't matter you know, how well things are going or how positive a person you are, you're going to have those days where you're just not feeling it. Your outlook on the world is bleak. You don't believe in humanity. Everybody is evil and bad and self-centered and selfish, and you know um, just all the different things. And it's important to keep just that mindset of, you know yeah, I'm going through something right now. It's not always going to be this way. It's temporary. It might be a long temporary, but it is temporary. That I have the power to work through this situation, right? And that I'm hopeful, right? And through that hope, I'm going to continue to work to change that. And then I'm going to find the beauty and the joy in other things while I navigate whatever trial or tribulation I find myself in. And so those things are really important. And so it helps to not get so kind of beat down in your own self-pity. You know what I mean? Like, oh, woe's me. I made all these mistakes. I made all these wrong choices. I made my life so hard. You know, just it's just so tough. Um, Helping other people can really help put that into perspective, especially when you see the resiliency of folks, right? I mean, I've worked with folks that, yeah, you look at their situation and you're like, man, I don't even know how you can even think to smile with your situation, what you're going through. Or you see someone trying, and every time they try, just something wipes them off their feet. Something bigger, something crazier. It's like, all right, look, man, you went through all of this. I think you're good now. You've had your share. And as soon as they start to stand back up, bam, something takes them out again. And you're like, oh my goodness. And somehow, you know, there's this resiliency where they're getting back up. Yeah, they're beat down. It hurts. But then you see them, they're smiling and they're helping someone else. And it's like, you know what? All right. All right. I'm good. I'm good. Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready to help. I'm ready to do the work. Let's get in there. Right. I can, how, if you ever watch this show and it fades to black and white, and that's kind of it's the bleak time. And then when things start getting better, the color comes back in, then that color can kind of come back in. right? And it's like, all right, I'm back. I've got my mindset, my frame. I'm back on my square, and I'm ready to go forward. It's powerful. It's powerful. And for my dad, he had his religion, right? His spirituality, his faith in God, was able to, he was able to navigate that. I was just talking with Pastor Ellington about that this morning. And my dad definitely was the strongest man that I knew, and when they amputated his toe and then continued to cut and cut and cut and take his leg, and he was afraid of the opiate pills, right? He just wouldn't take them. And I would just listen to my dad, cry, and that's hard, man. That's hard to watch. And say to him, Dad, take the pills, and he's like, son, I'm afraid of them. I don't want to get addicted to them. And to just go through that, and it's like knowing that there's something right there that can make you feel better, but you're afraid of it, that you're not gonna take it, and you're just willing to go through that pain. And, when the pain subsided, you know, where it wasn't as great, because of course you get an amputation, the pain is constant. It's 24 hours, right? The joy, the peace that he had. And I'm like, how the hell does this man have this much peace and joy? How does he smile and laugh and in the midst of his pain? And I love being able to say, in some ways I am my father's son. Uh, because people say that about me, my back issues and things like that. And you don't see yourself that way. You're like, oh no, this person or that situation is that and this and that. Um, but there is a resiliency in it, and I think that resiliency for me has come from watching people, like my dad, continue to be congruent even in the face of that pain, um, of just being beat down, not feeling like doing it. For me, I don't have the religious side, the spiritual side to the level that he has it. But, that feeling of, I'm just gonna keep on plugging even when right now I've got no faith in humanity, right? Everyone is just evil, everyone is just doing bad to each other and this and that, but I'm gonna get up and help them anyway, right? And it wears off and you work through it. And you're like, okay, yeah, I'm doing my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's important. Rob says, I often wonder with your situation how you are. Uh, well, I got a poker face. Is that a good poker face? I got a good hand or a bad hand? I have a good poker face. I think that's come from my dad also. The one thing is when you're in the classroom, as I talk about, right, that the feelings of the students is infectious, right? It goes through the room. If they're in a good room and if they're in a good mood and they're nice and high energy, right, you feed off of that energy. Everyone's learning, they're engaged, everything is great. And then you assign that 5-page paper and they're like, oh man, why do we have to do that, and it's due tomorrow, and then other people start complaining, oh, that's not enough time, I got to do this, right? So you can kind of be a generator of positivity, or you can be a generator of negativity. And so it's important to try to stay and be a generator of positivity. And so for me, that's kind of how I try to work toward, because as you do that, right, the folks around you are gonna
Christina
you're
Rourke.
gonna try to pick them up, right? I'm gonna answer the phone online. I've got my folks backstage. Christina, you are on live, so please don't say anything that you don't want to be on live. But I didn't want to not answer the phone while I'm on live. How are you? Yes. Give me give me an hour and I will call you back. You got it. Bye. All right. So uh my folks are backstage in the green room. I'm going to bring them forward. Let me just go ahead and finish my thought here. And so, the thing is if you are not feeling well and you're trying to help folks and they see that, right? Oftentimes you're trying to lift them up, you're trying to bolster them. Then, it's hard for them to get up if you're down, right? Especially when they need you to be up. And I felt that, right? And I felt that even recently. And someone has told me, I actually need that from you. That's the thing that I need. I need you to be, the Mr. C that I know and love, because you pick me up. You keep me in a good space. But if you're down and you're like, we'll never make it, and it's like, well, damn, I guess there is no hope if you don't have any hope. So that's hard, right? Rob says it is a testament to who you are and your faith and what you are doing. I appreciate that. I appreciate the acknowledgement and seeing that in me. Um, but at the same time, it's important that people see the authentic you, that they see you in a light when you aren't 100%, because oftentimes we only show, um, the facade of us always doing well, having it put together, right? Oh yeah, I got the time, looking good, I'm straight, and that's not always the truth, right? So there are times when, I'm trying to keep the tear from rolling down my eye because I'm in such pain, or it might even be emotionally. And so that's tough, right? And so, depending on who you are, I may show that to you because you need to see that side too. You got to see that there's still going to be struggles. There's still going to be the trials and tribulations. You're still going to be affected by things while you're still trying to put one foot in front of the other. But the important thing is to try to put that one foot in front of the other. So, I'll leave it from there from now. Let me go ahead and welcome my guest in. All right, young bloods, how are you doing? Let's see if we can hear you. All right, we don't have volume yet. So they are working on their volume right now. And we should have them soon. I think looks like their image is frozen actually. So let's go ahead and let them work that out. While they do that. Uh-oh, now I see them moving again. Let's see. All right, let's try again, y'all. How y'all doing? All right, they're still frozen. You might restart your computer and make sure you don't have any other windows open except for the internet window there. And that might work better. But as soon as you can, talk to me so I know that I can hear you. Okay. But go ahead and restart it. Let's see what's going on. Go ahead and talk. Let's see. Can you hear me, young bloods? By the way, on the left side, we have Banjo and Kamo. Those are our guests for the evening. So we got a great show set for you as soon as they work it out. Oh, he's got his banjo too. We're definitely in for a treat. Oh, and they're outside. I like it. So I think they're trying to get to a place with a better signal. They actually have a pretty good signal. You're all green now. You're all green. Just hit your volume on. You're muted. You're muted. I can see you. I just can't hear you. So they're working on that piece there. And then we'll go ahead and be good to go. But, what is it that you do? I'd love to hear from you in regards to how do you work
Can you
yourself.
hear me?
Oh, yeah. How y'all doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
Yay!
We're doing just fine. Let me go ahead and fix that. Boom. All right. So welcome, Banjo and Camel. How are you?
Good.
Very well. Very well. How are you doing?
Oh, you know what? I'm blessed and highly favored. So if you would, why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then we'll get going.
I'm gonna take the floor.
Hi, I'm Kamo. I have been in the area for like 10 years, and 2 years ago met this lovely fella and his son. And we had the same mission of taking off around the country, so we decided to do it together. And then we're married less than 3 months later. And now we're living on the road.
We're still married.
Oh man, how long have you been married?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. Okay, so let me ask a question before Banjo introduces himself. Well, no, introduce yourself first, and I'll ask the question. Go ahead.
How do you do? I'm Banjo, Banjo Youngblood. I mean, what more is there to say? Uh, Other half of this lovely woman here, naturally the uglier, ringleader of the Revolujahs and the Medicine Show revival, father of the fantastic, the wonderful the Jethro Youngblood. Um, yeah,
From Houston.
from Houston, naturally. Yeah, Houston, Texas, originally.
I'm from the Northwest.
And then you're also board members of the Resilient Ecosystems or Kitsap. What
Yeah.
is it? Resiliency Project.
Resilient Ecosystems,
Okay,
Riseco, and we're working on the Kitsap Resiliency Project right now.
hmm
nice.
Yeah, there's
Okay,
actually, yeah. I mean, if we were to go into it, there's a lot. A mechanic, welder, musician, comedian, writer, clown.
oh, I want to hear all about it. I do. So
Yeah.
tell me this first. Now that you've heard your introduction, so welcome. So how does someone meet and then 3 months later get married, like, and then stay married for 2 years? What's the secret sauce?
Well, we're gonna be married forever, I imagine.
The secret sauce is Craigslist rideshare, though.
That's right.
What? Elaborate,
Yeah.
please. Break this ride share. That's how you
Broke
met?
down motorhomes.
Oh, really?
That's,
Okay.
yeah, that's where it really all starts.
So what is it about Banjo? What is it about Camo that just was like, this is it? This is peanut butter and jelly.
Well, for me, I mean, other than his charming charisma and like-minded desire to travel and entertain, we're just goofballs all the time, and his son is rad. And I mean, it was kind of just he's talking about going to DC, and he wants to go over and be a part of the protests, and just be in DC to make things happen on foot, on ground. And I had already planned to leave Kitsap County and travel around the country. I was planning on moving from here and finding something else to do. So I had already mapped out a plan around the country, and I'm just bored, and I'm searching on Craigslist and find him there, and I give him a ride, and he was like, I want to go here, and well, you want to go the way that I plan to route around the country, and I've got a motorhome, do, not the one that just broke down, different motorhome.
Mhm.
We took that around the country, and it was just highly convenient for both of us.
Yeah, it was the chemistry is just off the hook immediately. You know, in the first few hours, it was already starting to sprout. It felt like for me.
Yeah.
So when I started the podcast in last February, what I would ask folks is, if they were in relationships, what made a good relationship and how do they overcome arguments and disagreements? Because a lot of folks in relationships, especially now during COVID, we hear that they get strained and folks are breaking up and things like that. So what advice or tips could you give to folks that are in relationships and finding themselves, just up against it a lot and the arguments are more frequent? What can they do to get back centered and get the love back? What do y'all do?
I would say let it go and just roll with it. Whatever is happening, you're like, I'm about to lose my brains. Everything's going to go crazy. I'm going crazy. Just take a second and drop it all. It's like, none of that matters. How can I help you? Like, how are you feeling? What can I do? Like, if we just take care of each other and like genuinely want the other's best interest at heart, like that's what we want, right? We want the other person to be happy and satisfied in their life. And so that's a lot of what I've been working on just within myself, because this relationship is honestly quite easy for me. It's very
Mhm.
like, if there's any sort of stress, it's just like, we're stressed because we're just killing the game. We're just doing a lot of work. We're following our dreams. And so to be able to, hey, we're doing good. What can I do? And then it's so mostly for me, it's internal to not, blow up myself just because I'm going through my own things. I think that's the hardest part for me. But, with other people, I think, and in other relationships, because we're constantly having dynamics with relationships with everybody that we come across. And so I think the biggest part for me is figuring out within myself how to not freak out to them, just
Yeah.
seeing it through my filters, like, okay, yes, that's very good. Let's see this from a positive standpoint. So
In
that's kind of my,
relation to other relationships, not between us.
yeah, I mean, it's the same thing too with us.
Uh-huh.
It's the same thing with everybody else for me. It's
Oh,
kind
sure.
of focus in yourself, and also you're going through something, which is why you're upset. So I'm going to figure out how to get straight within myself to help you, and then we can help each other. It's kind of,
You know what?
She does a fantastic job.
I got to give you a horn for that one.
Yeah, she does a fantastic job of being like, oh, you're going through something right now. Let me breathe it out for you, and then see what I can do for you, which is always a blessing.
Well,
Well, I feel like
powerful.
what's that?
I'm saying that that's powerful because a lot of times when there's conflict, the first thing is to say, well, it's you, it ain't me. I'm fine. It's you that has the issue. And she's saying you might be the one that's upset, and she's being introspective. I mean, how powerful is that? You know what I mean?
yeah.
To push ego aside and say, hey, you know what? It's not important. How can I help you? What's going on with you? That's huge. That's great advice. I love it.
Well, I feel like that's what you were talking about right before we came on when we were in the green room, was about going through a hard time and noticing that other people are in the same place. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that would be
You know?
accurate. Yeah. So
Yeah. So I mean, what's that?
on your side, what do you do?
Uh, that's one thing I definitely take into consideration. I when I'm one, I've kind of learned how to figure out. I've learned how to pinpoint my feelings. Okay, these are my feelings. I woke up feeling grumpy. I woke up feeling randy. I woke feeling like these are my feelings. Every moment through the day, I have to recognize, okay, are these my feelings? And when I've pinpointed what I'm through, the question honestly for me is, who else is going through this right now?
Mm-hmm.
I find quite frequently that you could probably. I feel like one of the places where church might come in handy is you go in there, and the pastor's talking about something that has been impacting everybody the whole week, and is like, you can look around and be like, oh yeah, finally somebody's put it in words. It's not just me.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the dynamic between Camo and I, it's particularly difficult to stay upset when this one's around.
That's awesome.
But I have been in relationship dynamics in the past where it was just like one step after another, somebody stepped on somebody's eggshells, and when that stuff happens, those were good lessons for me in the long run. Like Camo was saying, on how to let things go.
Right.
You know,
Right. Absolutely. I
I don't
love
want
that.
that.
Yeah. Thank you for answering that for me. Now, I got another question for you. You are, the young bloods, Banjo and Camo. Now, you've got a banjo on your back, so I can kind of figure that one out, but I still want to hear the story behind that. But Camo, how did you get your name?
So I actually went to summer camp when I was 11 after my brother passed away, and it was kind of, give the parents some time to heal and give myself some time to heal. And he always wanted to join the military and wear camouflage, and so I got to pick a nickname at camp. All the counselors have it, the staff, but I wasn't going to be a staff for like 5 years, and I ended up going to that summer camp for 8 more years. But I picked Camo that very first year as a camper, and I think most of my friends were made at camp, and I'd look through my phone as a teenager, and I'd be like, the majority of my friends are actually from this area that I don't even live in, and so a lot of my life was formed around my relationships from camp. and my best friend, we don't call each other by our real names. And but my real name is Caitlin, and still love the name, but very much, life is short, life is precious, and you need to be able to remember the people who have passed and live on for them. And so that's why I still go by Camo, is to just remember that, life is precious.
I appreciate that. And names are important. And there's always a story behind a name. How did you get your name? If your parents named you, or in your, situation, how you chose your name and to honor. Man, that's powerful. That's great. So when someone tells you their name, learn their name, because there's meaning behind it. Banjo, how did you come up with Banjo? How did you get that name?
I started out my early adulthood. I was a hobo. I rode freight trains and hitchhiked around the country, and I'd only been playing banjo for about a year when I met somebody, a train rider, an old train rider named Train, who had the same birthday as me. And upon getting to know this gentleman, we found out that he was actually friends with my family in Houston before I was born. He
Wow.
knew he was hanging out with my grandma and my grandpa's friends when my mom was a kid, and so while we hung out, deepened our connection. I pretty much I was his radio, and so he called me Banjo, and it just stuck.
I love it. Now, is train hopping, is that dangerous?
Yes, don't
Because it's
do it at
moving.
home.
Hey, I'm pretty risk adverse now, so you don't gotta worry about me trying that. I will be trying it.
Yeah. There's a
I did
there's a
like
lot of folks out there, like PSA announcement. There's a lot of folks out there that will say, "Oh, I've always wanted to do that," but there are rules. There are rules, and naturally, I'm not telling anybody how to or that they should do something that is illegal. But PSA announcement, go with somebody that's been doing it and knows what they're doing and isn't going to get your leg chopped off.
wow.
'Cause
Well, I
you get your
call
leg
you.
chopped off. What's that?
I said, "I'll call you if there's a zombie apocalypse and I need to hop a train, because that's the only way it's gonna happen."
Right. Yeah. And should there be a leg chopping incident, you make it harder for all the other people that are getting around via train. So just don't do it. I mean, unless you
Well, I gotta tell you, I'm
give me a call.
not exactly the fastest in the bunch, so I think I'm zombie bait. Just
We'll
saying.
figure something out. They might be musical zombies. You just need to play some music and they start dancing.
Well, tell me about, the revival and what that's about. I'm really interested to hear about that. I would love for the audience to hear about it. Talk about that.
All right. The Revolujahs and the Medicine Show Revival. Once upon a time in the early 1900s, America had a tradition. It was the medicine show. The medicine show was essentially a horse-drawn buggy or whatever sort of vehicle could come into town, and they'd put on a free show to bring out the locals, and that's where they would sell their health elixirs. Cures what ails you. Well, the thing about health elixirs is they didn't cure what ails you. They're typically bootleg liquor and heroin or cocaine or something like that. Make you forget about what's ailing you. But the we're not bootleggers and we're not drug dealers. But I tell you, the medicine that we all need right now is community. And
Mm.
so that's essentially the idea behind the Revolujahs and the Medicine Show Revival is we put on free shows to bring out the locals, and if all goes well, by the time we're done with our show, by the time we're done with our event, we've made the world just a little bit smaller, and we've united some people in the community that can really make a difference for each other.
I love it. I appreciate that. And, we all can do it in our ways, right? We don't have to do it in someone else's way. to make that change, to affect people's lives in a positive way. Like I'm not hopping trains and doing a revival. I don't have the musical gene. I don't even have the singing gene. My daughter says, "Daddy, stop singing. Just stop." But we can all affect it in our own way, and that's really what it takes, right? And then we're talking about
Mhm.
building relationships, so that's really powerful. I really appreciate that. I'm glad I got to meet you guys before you left, because if this was like maybe 3 weeks later, you're getting ready to go on the road, right? You want to talk about where you're going on your destinations?
Yeah. We actually just got done with our first show after a year of construction, making the stage.
And that was an old camper trailer. That was a little pull behind trailer, and we knocked it down and totally built a new stage. It's mainly this guy. And we performed on it a couple of nights ago, and it was just kind of like, can we do this? Throw it all together. And it was beautiful.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. And it was awesome. And close family, friends, and we had like a potluck and some food, and it was awesome. So we've got a 25-foot trailer, or 25-foot RV, that we're painting into an elephant, and that's going to be pulling behind our stage. And we drive around in a half painted, half finished camouflage car and art car. So we're all about the arts and want to run around and create a caravan of people who can, live on the road and find community around the country.
Right. What we do is it's an open invitation to folks. I'll give you a little bit of a lowdown. About 10 years ago, we started this thing with the Occupy movement. We started in Occupy DC, and it was three of us. We were musicians, and we realized the morale that our music had on the activists, the protesters. And it was good enough that we decided that we'd start going from Occupy to Occupy, and again, this was when we were merely train hoppers.
Hmm.
But some people got cold, they got tired, they wanted to go home for the holidays, so I went out west to Eugene and got a bus, and shortly, by the time we got to the other side of the country, back to the DC area, we had about 14 vehicles and 60 people.
Wow.
Now, at this time, we didn't have a whole lot of direction except for go to the occupies, and we were traveling fast and we were using up a lot of resources, and it was exhausting. By the time I got back to Oregon, it took me about 3 years to recover from 6 months on the road like that. So we're doing it again, but we've done a couple tweaks here and there, and it's an open invitation to folks that want to join us. But what we encourage you to do is write yourself a mission statement. I feel like mission statements really narrow down things. It tells us who you are, what you're about, what kind of service, how you want to be in service, and how you would like to be served. And then you can add stuff in like wish lists and boundaries and this, that, and the other. And before we know it, all of a sudden we're all talking in terms of, well, how are we actually making a difference? You know, and so I'd like to see something like what we had before, only with a little more direction, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So I've got another question for you. So, you're part of the, resiliency, resilient ecosystems and the Kids App Resiliency Project, and it's about resiliency. And Mark, he hates the word sustainability, right? You don't want to sustain, you want to continue to grow and move in that direction. It's so funny because I was in a meeting and I actually used that. So now it's like it's already stuck in my head. Like I'll say sustainable because I've been trained to say sustainable. I was like, no, 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 it's not sustainability, it's resilience. We got to be resilient. So I really love that. And I've got 1,000 questions to ask you, and I look forward to getting to know you over the course of the next several years. But how does, you are resilient, right? So a lot of folks like me, it's like, oh, I got to go to work. I got to pay my rent. I got to pay my bills. I've got to, I'm kind of a slave to this machine. But you're like, you know what? We're going to go on the road. We're going to make people feel happy. We've got all these other vehicles with us and we're doing it. Like, how do you do that? How do you pay for it? How do you eat? How do you survive? How do you live?
That was legitimate.
Yeah.
How do we do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a common one. Everybody kind of asks that. We keep our bills low. Cell phone, insurance, food, gas. So
There's a lot of maintenance.
maintenance, a lot of
Yeah.
maintenance.
Um, I don't know. I'd say that the fact that we have very little uh, regular bill dates. We have a lot of bills, but the fact that we only have two or three that roll around same time every month gives us a little bit of flexibility on how we do things. Um,
Community work.
yeah, it's so I like I told you before, I do some mechanicking. I do some yeah, I'm all greased up. I've been tinkering with a truck all day. I do some mechanicking. I do some welding. Naturally, we built the stage. We do some construction. Kamo does great bondo work. But but we do these things by donation. I do these things by donation. You feel like
I have
that's
taken that on as well. So Banjo kind of does this donation system where he's like, well, what feels good to you to pay me for what we're doing, and if that doesn't feel good to me, then I will bounce back a number to you, and we'll keep going until we both feel it's a fair trade. And I very much felt like that works for me as well. Um, you know, house sitting, taking care of animals or whatever jobs that I'm capable of doing. I try to take advantage of when they come around, or I will make a post about it on Craigslist or, Facebook Port Orchard page. That's where we get a lot of or Nextdoor app. There's a lot of local apps that'll connect you with people in the community that need help. And the way that I see it is everybody has an excess of something that they don't need, and
Mhm.
everybody is missing something that they do need. So if you just reach out to your neighbors, then you guys will be able to find the missing pieces and be able to trade with each other. And so
even
I
if that's service.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
You know, yeah, I feel like the whole exchange process, capitalism kind of takes away from our humanity, and so by doing this fair trade is more of a gut feeling than it is a business practice. It's like, I'll do something. I'll say, well, take into consideration my labor, how much time, the materials, and then bounce something that feels good to me. And when we meet in the middle, ideally, both of us feel like we have given and taken a fair exchange. And what I tell people is, I'm not here as a businessman. I'm here as a brother.
Mm,
Yeah.
I like that. And the reason
Go on.
say that again.
Well, I was gonna add, you were asking, we make a little bit of money through our services, but we're also highly in pursuit of uh, sponsors right now because the exchange of service, it only gets us so far.
And the more services that we have to offer, the more it'll benefit us and the sponsor.
Mhm.
Rizeco, we're part of that on the board, but they also sponsor us with our hotspot and a computer so that we can spread their message around the country.
Mhm.
So we
Wow.
do workshops for WhatsApp resiliency and talk about, all the things that entity is trying to teach the community around us, Kitsap, about emergency planning and preparedness and power for all and food for all and shelter for all. And these are all things that we need to be talking about around the country. And so we're looking for any kind of sponsors. We can, we've got an RV that we're painting into an elephant and a stage. It's catching eyes all around the country. And we're putting on shows, and we're going to be, very much involved in whoever is a part of our lives. And so we have plenty of space to slap a logo on or to sell your product along the way. Black Ring Spirits, shout out to them because they are also one of our sponsors, and they're in Port Orchard and they're awesome. And
Yep.
just stuff like that, where it's just like they're our friends. You're our friends. You become our friends as you become our sponsors, and you become a Revolujah as you become a part. And we're all working together. I mean, there isn't going to be any harm in me passing on somebody's name if
Right.
you guys help us get us down the road.
So can I ask you to do this in the chat? There's a private chat feature. Will you type how people can get a hold of you if they would like to sponsor or donate? I think that's really important.
Yeah,
And then,
absolutely.
well, oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, while she's doing
Oh,
that,
I was
Banjo, you
He,
do
he was
banjo.
talking to me.
Now you do have your banjo. So was your intent to play a little something for us? Oh, it looks like you muted yourself there.
Is that coming through all right? I don't expect you to be anyone but you. Now don't expect me to be anything like you. There's only one way to be in this life. If you're gonna be you, you're gonna be right. You're gonna be right. If you're gonna be you, you're gonna be right. That reminds me of the age-old tale, zebra and the horse. You know the one. Horse wasn't ever one to let nature take its course. One day he come to zebra, who's inclined to roam free, saying, "Don't you think you'd be better off being like me?" And that zebra said, "I don't expect you to be anyone but you. Now don't expect me to be anything like you. There's only one way to be in this life. If you're gonna be you, you're gonna be right. If you're gonna be you, you're gonna be right. You're gonna be right. If you're gonna be you, you're gonna be.
Oh man, that's awesome.
You're too kind. You're too kind. You're there in the back. Sit on the chair. Thank you. Thank you. Oh.
Okay. All right, I gotta ask. You said you've only been playing for a year.
That's right. Yeah. Actually, a little bit less than a year. No, I'm just kidding. No, I've been playing for 14 years now.
Oh, 14. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't know how you've only been playing a year sounding that good. I'm like, that's only from a year? I'm like, wow. That's really good.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy. I can give you a lesson. You'll pick it up in no time.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I might have to if I could do it in less than a year and play that well. I'm like, man, less than seriously? I'm like, no, that's good. That's good. That's really good. So, I
Thank you.
got the information on there. The Youngbloods Revolujahs. Is that how you say it?
Revolujahs, like hallelujah and revolution.
Revoluya and the Medicine Show Revival on Facebook or Venmo and PayPal at Banjo's Can Benefit at gmail.com. You can also review. It doesn't sound the way that it reads. So Revoluya at
Revoluya.
gmail.com 206-308-1188. So I'll leave that on the screen for the rest of the time that we have this conversation. Yeah, thank you so much for playing and coming on and talking about
fancy.
talking about your. So I'm in the home studio now. So if you guys don't remember Thursday when we were at the Black Ring, Kamo and Banjo were at the workshop for resiliency. So we'll be there again this Thursday. But when I'm in my home studio, I can do a whole lot of magic. So this is what it looks like on the other side. So I can make things look pretty fancy. I got all my little sounds and my little bells and whistles and whatnot. So I'll get it going like that up at Black Ring. So at
you
some
got
point,
filters?
that's the first time. No, I don't have any filters.
You can't make us look like bearded women. I mean, more than I already do.
No, I haven't learned. So I started the podcast in February. So I've been watching YouTube videos and trying to teach myself how to do this. So, I haven't even been doing this a year yet. So I'm just doing the best I can. I'm building the plane while I fly it, kind of how we
You
talked
said
about
you've been doing it for a year.
since
You can
February.
teach us.
I can try. Yep,
And
absolutely.
you're already this good.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't think it's that good, but if you think it looks good, it's all good. You don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Give it up for Marwan!
I'll give myself a little horn. So, I think that's really awesome. And I think what's so important and endearing about your story is, you get to do it how you want to do it. And so often folks feel like, well, I really want to get involved. I really want to do something, but I got to do it this way. I got to do it the way the majority does it. But that's not how I want to do it. I'd love to do this. And you found a way to live your passion, and that's so powerful, as Kamo was saying, life is short, and we lose sight of that, and it's so sad because you see folks that maybe they lived a long life, and they're on their bed at the final days, and they have all these regrets, and it's like, you guys are doing it, and that's so awesome. A life fulfilled is a blessed thing for sure. I wanted you to talk a little bit about the Kids Up Resiliency Project, and you were talking about taking that on the road. Why is that important to you? What it's about? I'm kind of new to it, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But if you could just kind of speak to, um, uh, you call it Re-Echo? Is that the nickname?
Risecco.
Yeah,
Risecco.
resilient ecosystems. Mhm.
All right. So can you talk a little bit about that as we kind of wind up here?
Yeah.
Sure.
Shall I?
Go for it.
Okay. So, Kids Up Resiliency Project, it very in harmony with what we're doing as the Revolujahs, which is all about bringing people together, and essentially, it's for me, it's the power of people working together. In terms of resilient, uh, Kids App Resiliency Project, it's the power of being prepared when you're working together, right? Being prepared for anything, and that's where the resiliency comes in hand. Is we're growing, we're working together, we're thriving, so that should anything happen, we're all covered. Everybody's covered, right? And so, resilient ecosystems is essentially three projects. One is food for all, another is power for all, and the other is shelter for all.
And water for all, like he's trying to get all of the bases. But 1st we're working on food for all.
Yeah, currently we're working on food for all, and that's essentially the idea, inspired by the state of affairs that's
with the tectonic plates.
Where you want to elaborate?
Yeah, so we have the Cascadia fault line that goes from northern California to southern Canada, and it is every last, I think, 7,000 years was recorded that they.
No. 1719 is like.
Well, no, I'm just saying for like it's been recorded for like tens of thousands of years, or close to that, where every few hundred years they're going to just collide together and create an earthquake and then a tsunami. And this has just been shown with the way that forests look, and dating back to, and it's a cycle, and it's going to happen, and we're due for one.
Essentially every I think 250 to 420 years, it's a massive earthquake on the West Coast.
Yeah, so it's and FEMA says that we'll be out of power for a year, and Puget Sound Energy is saying that we'll be out of power from 4 to 6 months. And so either way, our Kitsap is going to essentially become an island, and just from the predictions from scientists, and we don't know. We're not going to have roads. We're not going to have power. So we're trying to provide more meat points and connections, horses bringing local foods from farms and getting the farms set up so that we have, food being brought to the places where people would normally get food, but there's no power or access to that. So we're just trying to make the connections so that we can work together to have more opportunities closer to home if something happens like that. And that's one of the things that we're working on.
Essentially, gathering our resources and our services, much like we were talking about with Revolujahs, gathering our resources and our services locally, so that should there be an incident, we've got all our bases covered. The food for all specifically is in regards to um, uh, making it to where Kitsap County has local agriculture that is producing the food. So uh, when everything crashes down around us, we're not left eating each other.
Well, that sounds horrible. You know what's
Yeah,
so
that was a quick thought. It was like, how would that turn out when we don't have food? A lot of us don't. In your backyard, you could pull up some of your weeds and toss it into a salad and be well maintained for quite some time. But without that knowledge, you wind up having to resort to whatever you got.
And that's another thing that we're trying to get as the Revolujahs and as Kitsap Resiliency Project. We're trying to find the people who fill our puzzle, and that's what Rosecco likes to say, is that we create the border where we are like, we need to think about these things. This is what's going on. Let's all take a picture. Let's take a view at the big picture. But you are going to bring something to the table that I had no idea about. And we on the road, like, that's one of the things we're looking for, is somebody who has an apothecary so they can teach us how to survive off the land. And we're also trying to do that ourselves, and learning a little bit more about how to save a buck and eat more naturally growing things, and stuff like that. So it's all just kind of little pieces everywhere, things that we might not think about, and we all come together and we'll have a better picture of how we will all work together to make things work.
Yeah, I just want to clarify the whole comment about eating each other. I forgot I was speaking on behalf of Rosecco, Kitsap Resiliency. That was just my thought. I was like, oh, wouldn't that be awful? Yeah.
well, I mean, we had a zombie theme earlier, so I think we get it. What's really important, and that's why I so resonated with this organization is, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so we've been told the big earthquake has been coming, since I was a kid, and it's not here. And we're talking with Mark and knowing how our infrastructure hasn't been worked on in a long time, right? It's been kicked down the can and kicked down the can and kicked down the can. That when it does come, and for me and a lot of folks that I know that do not have the skill set, the one of the reasons why I asked you the question that I did is like, well, how do you maintain, how are you able to go on the road and do the things that you do, is because for people like me, we can't envision, we can't think about, how do you live off the land? How do you repair your own vehicle? How do you learn how to do this? How do you leverage all of these vocational skills that you're not like, well, I just take it to the mechanic and I just go and buy the processed food and I just hire this repair person and I just do that. It's like, no, you're the person that does it. And so when that stuff is gone, how are you going to thrive and survive and not sustain, right? How are you going to thrive? And if you have little ones or other, elderly that are counting on you, how are you going to do it? And who is in your circle, who's in your community, who do you have relationship with that's going to help you in your ecosystem to thrive while this is happening? When that snowstorm hit in Texas, folks were dying because they weren't expecting that, right? And it may be a freak thing, but it can be a tornado or Hurricane Ida, and we see it, the forest fires. It's everywhere. There's no safe place on the map, right? They're all getting hit with something, and we have to be resilient. We have to be ready. We have to have a plan. And so many of us here in this country operate from a, well, when the crisis hits, then I'll figure it out. And it's like it's too late now. You've got to learn how to live off the land, to be resilient, to build relationship, to have community, to be able to have that. We don't have savings in this country. There's a lot of things that we've gotten away from, where we were so healthier before, so much healthier in the way that we lived and the way that we interacted with each other on so many different levels. And that's gone, and it's a lost art, I would say, that it really needs to be recaptured. And so for me, it's like, what can I do for myself to learn about these skills, and then what can I teach out to the folks that I'm around, right? So that I can build that community and relationship. So Mark came on to the podcast a few weeks ago, and kind of spoke about that. And I'm watching YouTube videos and buying MREs and little tents and things like that, and trying to do my little part in it, to try to get folks ready and tell folks, hey, you need to start getting ready. But I also need to practice it, right? I need to know how to fish and eat off the land and grow food, and be able to do small repairs and build, and basic first aid, and things like that. These things are all really important, and it's like, you cannot wait. You got to get going now. So give me your thoughts on that, and I'm gonna give you guys the last word. And I appreciate you coming on.
Right on. Well, we appreciate you having us, Marwan, and we're excited to have you in our lives more. To that, the first thing that comes to my mind is, we get so wrapped up in life and the things, the bills, the hustle and the bustle, and I can't, I'm too busy. You have a skill. Everybody has a skill, and part of the benefit of what we're doing is we're coming together within the communities and on the roads. So we're gaining more access to other people's skill set too, and putting ours out there. I offer this, so more people know about it because we're out there. But right now with COVID, it's a little bit harder to do that. And so my suggestion is to, and this is just like a kind of a general life thing, and it circles back to what I started with, but life isn't just the hustle and bustle, and you got to find time to stretch every day. You got to find time to breathe, and you have to find time to drink your water. And you just have to focus on those things, and take care of yourself, and then find what you're passionate about. And that aligns with our mission statements, that we just want to know we want you to know what your passion is, so that you have a drive in life. And so if you have that passion, whatever it may be, and if you're already in it, and consumed in it, and you're already doing it all the time, then maybe take a step back and learn something else. Or, like yesterday, I was kind of all over the place, and our son was a little bit all over the place, and we were just kind of like, we need to, and I think you were a little bit all over the place, and we were kind of like, we just all need to. So, we all kind of did our own thing, and I took Jethro into the motorhome, and like, now it's reading time. We're just both gonna sit down and read, and that's what's gonna happen. And I'm gonna read about I'm gonna start reading A Course in Miracles, and you're gonna read what you want to read. But he didn't want to read. He's like, why do I have to read? I want to do these other things. And I'm like, why do I have to sit here and read with you? Because I need to do these other things. But I'm like, come here, cuddle with me, and I'm gonna read to you A Course in Miracles. I'm going to read a part in this book, and we're just going to read together, and we're just going to sit here, and we're just going to do something completely different, something that I keep wanting to put time into reading. And we only spent an hour just sitting there, and it calmed everybody down, I think, to just be able to do that you want to be able to know how to do. And it just takes doing that for 5 minutes one day, and 10 the next, and then an hour the next. And before you know it, you're telling people about, what you've been reading, and, that you can fix a car now, or, at least change a water pump, or whatever you've been spending your time on. So I'd say just, each day to try and separate yourself from the things that cause the stress and anxiety. Take a breath and do something for you, and learn something.
Sage advice.
I feel like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's for me. It's a blessing that you know the path to the thing that uh, all these tools and skills that I can then share with other people. I find it really convenient. Oh, I had to learn how to weld to make this stage, but now I have this skill that I can give to other people, and that means a lot to me. Um, I try to. I might have said this on Thursday when we are hanging out. Um, if you want to entertain yourself, or if you want to change the world, you look around at all the actors and comedians and musicians that have really made their impact on the world in a way that you can admire and appreciate, and it's changed your life because they were doing what they loved. If you want to make an impact on the world, if you want to change the world, entertain yourself. Find out what is drives your passion. Find out what you love to see done in this world, and do it for yourself first. Do it for yourself first. And as you really start to love it, know that you're vibrating high. You can do that. You can and with that, with what you love doing, you can be in service to other people. You know, that's and I feel like that's you know for that reason, you ask how do we put this first? There's so many people trapped in the hustle and bustle, this, that, and the other. This what we're doing here, yeah, we could get the 9 to 5 and pay for doing this a month out of the year. But what the difference is for us is this is our priority. It's our passion. It's what we love doing. It's how we're going to make an impact on the world. And maybe through this, we can afford a month in a house
Hey,
out of the year. But this is what we're doing. I promise. You know.
again, sage advice from the both of you. I really want to appreciate you. Say that I appreciate you for coming on. I'm so excited to have met you and look forward to getting to know you more. It's important that you get out of your echo chamber, folks. You got to meet other people. You know, there's so many different perspectives on there. That advice is some of the best advice I've heard in a while. Powerful, powerful. So again, the Youngbloods, Revoluja, and the Medicine Show Revival, Facebook, Venmo, and PayPal at banjoscanbenefit@gmail.com or Revoluja at gmail.com 206-308-1188. So for
Yeah. Please
Kamo,
reach out.
yeah, for Kamo and Banjo, I am Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. We will be back tomorrow with another show. Have a good one. Thank you, guys.